Hi, everybody. My name is Andrea. I'm the founder and CEO of All About Presentation. Today, I'm bringing you a head to head challenge. Recently, last week, Bard made some really big updates. I would say maybe May 10th or so. And since then, I wanted to see how would Bard or the answers it provides compare to ChatGPT. So the first thing is the cool thing about Bard is that it is all web-based and also connected to the internet. Bard is Google's AI solution. What you're seeing me do is just go through some of the initial settings that I went through. I also always check the Bard FAQ. I'm really big into how does a platform source its responses. And so I think that's something to check because you want to know where the information is coming from. Such a big thing. Also, when you log into Bard, you can look at any updates that they have. And again, the most recent was May 10th, and it really is pretty intriguing, some of the responses. So I wanted to do what would essentially be a head-to-head challenge. Oh, also you can do dark mode, which for those who like that, they do that. But so I wanted to do a head-to-head challenge with what ChatGPT provides and what Bard said. But first, in order to do that, I wanted to just ask it a generic question of, what are the top three ideas to promote an event? In general, just getting the word out about your event. So what I did was I wanted to, one, see how quickly it would move. And I also wanted to see the options. So it gave three options. It said use social media, create a website or landing page, do some email marketing. And then it also provided some additional tips, which I liked, about promoting an event. And so I thought that was a really interesting way to go about it. The other thing that I noticed right away is you get this sort of really quick response. It's really clean when you get the response, whereas ChatGPT kind of, it's like it's typing and talking back to you. So this was one kind of insert. Now, they also provide drafts of the responses. So some of the responses were very, very, very similar. But I guess if you wanted to take examples of how that content is written, it gives you various drafts of that content. But basically, they're saying the same thing in each of the drafts. I noticed that there wasn't anything new. Maybe in one of them, they talked about doing a video trailer for the event. And the reason why, by the way, I chose this exercise was simply because I wanted to see, I'm doing it for my newsletter this week, top 3 ways to promote an event. I wondered what the system would say. So I wanted to see, more importantly, head to head, what would ChatGPT say versus Bard. So I re-prompted both that same question in both ChatGPT and I re-prompted it in Bard. And here's what we came up with. Answers are very, very, very similar, which I thought was very interesting. And so then beyond the 3, I asked what other ideas did each platform have for promoting an event. So I asked for the top 3 initially, and then I said, well, what other ideas do you have? And so Bard, of course, it comes back very quickly. A lot of their ideas were the same, but there were some unique and interesting differences that exist between the answers that ChatGPT provided and those versus Bard. So one of the things that I thought was really interesting is it talked about event discovery platforms, which we like to use a lot at our company. It also talked about influencer marketing, which is really cool too. It's a really big strategy that people use. Also bringing up referral programs, contests and giveaways. Both systems have a notion about using contests or giveaways. But as far as the answer itself, I would have to give the win to ChatGPT. But since I was in Bard, I decided to just really test the system. And this becomes questions that are more, they're more intuitive in nature, meaning that just to test the AI system in general, just example would be, how would you recommend getting the word out about a conference, right, versus a concert? So that's a bit more of a complex ask, because we're now asking the system to look at A versus B, not just look at A and tell me about A. So A versus B is more interesting. So I wanted to see how Bard would handle that complexity, and it did pretty good. I mean, it was okay, right? It was mediocre. It talked about conferences, and then, making sure you have a target audience, which would be a little different than the target audience for, say, a concert. But I really liked how how Bard categorized its response. And I thought that was pretty clever. So it looked at, all right, if you were marketing something, you want to look at the target audience, the key messages, and the call to action. This is how you would distinguish the difference between the two types of events. So I thought that was pretty clever in and of itself. And then Bard gave some additional responses for each, right? Said, hey, here's some things that can help with either one, whether it's a conference or you're planning a concert. It also provided drafts, again, for each of the two options, which I thought was pretty clever as well. And then, just to round out the conversation, I did ask Bard about one last thing, which is, what is the fastest selling event of all time? And so I wanted to know that, because we're going to another complex question, which is, once you know the fastest selling event of all time, which, by the way, has changed. Every time I ask this question, it kind of gives me a new answer. But hey, there's a few. So I'm going to ask about WrestleMania 21, right, which sold out in minutes. But I wanted to know the complex question of, how can I use what WrestleMania did for my own event? So how do I take the promotion tactics from WrestleMania and then apply them to, let's say, a conference that I'm selling and promoting? And that's really a complex answer, because now you're talking strategy, which is a little different. So here's what it said about that. I think it's what I would like to call some generic information, but it didn't do too bad. Start early. WrestleMania started promoting the event over a year in advance. Again, very cool. I really enjoyed it. But one thing that I would say that would be, if I had to pick one right now, I would say ChatGPT, only because I think it's a large learning model. So I think it has just had more experience dealing with the general population like me. And so it's starting to shape its answers just a little bit better. But again, the big advantage of Bard is that it is connected to the internet, so that it will have responses and answers that from content that was available after October of 2021. So I would choose right now. I think we're still going to continue with ChatGPT, but Bard has a lot going for it.